fly ball into right field. She is gone. In a year that has been so improbable, the impossible has happened. This one by Mattingly. Oh, hang on to the roof. Goodbye, home run. Don Mattingly. Taco makes one. Deep left field. Down the line. That ball is out of here. Out of here.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Table Setters, covering all things Major League Baseball. As always, I'm Steve, joined by my tag team partner, Devin. What's going on, man?
What's up? What's up? Episode 87 here. It's been a little while since we've had a guest on the program, and this week we have two lined up. So excited to get it started and get this one going.
As I always say, no warming up in the bullpen. We got a great guest today on Table Setters, Bryce Whitlow, the creator of the widely popular Instagram account at MLB Hall of Good. It's a page dedicated to celebrating baseball's most underrated legends. So through the Hall of Pretty Good, Bryce has crafted a heartfelt and often hilarious tribute to the players who might not be heading to Cooperstown, but still hold a very special place in our hearts. Today, we're diving into the origins of the page, some of his favorite inductees, and what makes a player pretty good worthy. So let's get into it. What's going on, Bryce?
Not much, guys. I appreciate you having me on. You know, any chance to talk baseball is an opportunity I want to take. So thank you, guys. I'm happy to be an honorary table setter for the day.
Absolutely, man. We're really happy to have you on here. I remember talking to you when we started about a year ago or so, maybe a little more than a year ago. I sent you a DM on Instagram and just kind of asked you for a little advice as far as like how to grab some players, get some guests on here, and to see the growth you have gone through over the last year is just insane. But before we dig into everything in the Hall of Pretty Good, just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got interested in baseball and the journey baseball has taken you through.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like baseball, you know, has always been a part of my life. Played every year, you know, from when I was 4 years old all the way till I graduated high school. You know, it's something my family always has on. You know, you go over for a family outing or July 4th, baseball is always on the TV. It just always felt like a part of my life. My dad always did a great job taking me to games, professional games, you know, college games, even high school, just anywhere there was baseball, just exposing me to baseball. And now, 23 years old now it's just carried into my adult life. And I hope to keep it going, you know, for as long as I'm here.
Yeah, man, we love the page, as I mentioned off air, but we want to give you guys a lot of love for what you guys are doing over there. Hall of Pretty Good, you guys. So make sure you follow on Instagram. You just surpassed 100K, so congrats on that. So you guys celebrating over there. That's not an easy feat, especially as, you know, growing with Instagram. Sometimes the algorithm moves it around, but dude, want to give you a congratulations on the show.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. You know, it was unexpected, but I'm really grateful for it. Thank you.
So for the listeners who might not be familiar with the Hall of Pretty Good, could you give us a quick overview of what it is and who qualifies for the induction and what kind of player makes the cut for this unique honor roll that we're honoring on your page?
Yeah, so to sum it up, you know, kind of in a few sentences, what it is, it's just a place for people who weren't, you know, Hall of Famers to be celebrated. Baseball has plenty of guys who spent, you know, 5 to probably 15 years in the MLB, put up numbers, you know, were vital parts of really good teams. But once they retire, nobody really talks about them anymore. Like, and you know, people like you guys on podcasts and stuff, they show them love. But I'm talking at more of like a national scale, like ESPN. I love MLB Network, but even them, you know, like somebody retires from 10 years ago. I mean, you never hear about them again. I mean, there's players who are relevant. Like, think of somebody random. I don't know, like John Lackey, you know, great pitcher, all-star championship. I mean, how many times have you heard John Lackey's name, you know, on a national scale in the last few years? And so that's kind of what I try and do is just kind of bring them to the forefront and just so people can be like, oh yeah, I remember watching him, you know, with my dad or something like that growing up. And so that's really just what it is. It's just a place for those types of people to be celebrated.
Dude, I love that. And honestly, like looking at your page and the post, it just reminds me of those memes that say like guys can spend like an hour or two just sitting around naming ex-athletes. Like that's what it feels like that on an Instagram or Twitter page, like come to life. Well, let me ask you a little bit more about the qualifications. Is there anything that disqualifies a player from being a candidate for the Hall of Pretty Good?
Yes, so there is. So we're all about, you know, just showing off people who are pretty good. And so, you know, it sounds a little harsh, but we don't pay too much attention to the superstars because I feel like they get attention already. So to fit into the Hall of Pretty Good, you got to have less than 35 baseball reference WAR, I use B War instead of F War. It's just a personal preference. You got to be fully retired. Usually that's an announcement, or if you haven't played for 5 years, obviously you're done. And then no Cy Youngs or MVPs. Other than that, you're pretty much good to go.
So Devin froze over here, so I'll pick it up where he left off. And a big conversation about these pretty good players. I think a lot of them get the love during the postseason. I think they kind of come out and you think of all the favorite. David Freese comes to mind. Obviously, not a player that was your regular season star, but everyone remember from the home run he hit in that World Series. So where did this idea come from? And do you have any idea why did it blow up in the way that it did? Because it has, like you said, exploded to 100K followers. I feel like people are really catching on to this idea of celebrating these pretty good players that are not getting love in the national stage.
Yeah, I mean, the idea for it really just came out of frustration with the direction like ESPN's moved in with their content. I feel like it's a lot of argumentative stuff, a lot of negative stuff. And so I just wanted a positive place, for players to be talked about. And I would like to imagine people have responded to that, just genuine love of the game of baseball, and how, I'll rag on people every now and then. I'm a Red Sox fan. Alex Cora does something stupid, I'll probably post about it, or something I view as stupid at least. But overall, it is a really positive place. And I think people like that because a lot of social media, it's filled with people just ragging on professional sports players from the couch. And so we try and keep it a little bit upbeat as possible.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, just to following your post. It seems like there's positivity that radiates in the comment section. And I think that's where it really separates your page and your following, everything going on over there. It's just celebration of baseball and these players at large. And I think for a lot of people, social media has a negative tinge and depends on where you're at as far as Twitter or Instagram. But me personally, for those that are listening here, I do pro wrestling podcasting and I'm involved in independent wrestling. The toxicity that exists in some fan bases is so interesting. Of course, it does on baseball, like you mentioned, people critiquing umpires and talking about decisions made by managers. But I think what bonds baseball fans is the passion of just the day-to-day grind, the attrition that is the baseball season. And I think the best of all of baseball fans can be represented in what you guys have at Hull pretty good. I really believe that.
Yeah, thank you. And I definitely agree. It's just like you'd be surprised how many people remember that random first baseman from 8 years ago. And so all it is just trying to dig up that memory once again.
Yeah, it's definitely amazing to see because the positivity is what we want it to be. And this episode, for everyone listening, drops on Wednesday. And we all know that your next vote goes live on Thursday. So we don't want to give away the secret sauce, but is there any way we can get a sneak peek at which player will be up for induction, or is that top secret information?
I will go ahead and reveal it because
wow.
Yeah, I don't have a problem doing it. It's randomly selected. I will tell that to people. A lot of people request. I keep it random because I don't want to do personal bias. But on Thursday, we will be voting on Denard Span.
Oh, love it.
All right, awesome.
Yes,
love
sir.
that. I'm honored that we got that there. I thought that was going to be a reach for us to get the get the information. I didn't know, but you never know till you ask. All right, Denard Span, breaking news here on Table Setters here. You just mentioned that it's random. And I've seen you kind of go back and forth with some people who get upset with you for like not putting up who they want for vote. So how do you go about randomizing it?
I created a wheel with 1,000 different players on it, and I just spin it every single time.
Amazing.
I mean, I'm a human. I'd just pick my favorite players if it was up to me.
Right.
And then if I took requests, some people would be upset I prioritize people over another person. And so I just wanted to avoid all that. So I just made it random. I felt like it was the best way to be fair to everyone.
So it's really helped the growth. It seems like several, maybe even all of the players who've been inducted into the Hall of Pretty Good have acknowledged on Instagram. So can you share some of your favorite reactions or interactions with the players themselves when they hear about this or see this, and generally what has been their demeanor when they find out they've been inducted?
Yeah, so my biggest fear with, kind of showing these to players was that they were going to kind of take it as an insult, because just saying somebody was pretty good when they spent 10 years in the big leagues. But a lot of them have seen the funny side of it and have even appreciated it, even that so many people love them still. And so I've gotten a lot of positive reception, and that's really been awesome to see.
So one thing I love that I've seen on your Twitter page and Instagram is that you're trying to encourage Baseball Reference to acknowledge the Hall of Pretty Good inductees.
Yes.
Have you had any contact with anyone over there?
Yeah, so my biggest fear with, kind of showing these to players was that they were going to kind of take it as an insult, because just saying somebody was pretty good when they spent 10 years in the big leagues. But a lot of them have seen the funny side of it and have even appreciated it, even that so many people love them still. And so I've gotten a lot of positive reception, and that's really been awesome to see.
So
So when I first started, they actually collabed on an Instagram post with me. It was like a poll about if Chase Utley was a Hall of Famer. But other than that, no, nothing's moved the needle yet. But I'm gonna keep trying. You never know what's gonna happen.
Well, let's talk about like the Utley thing is interesting. Steve and I have this conversation. It comes up kind of randomly as far as like when we talk about the Hall of Fame. We feel like the numbers are going to have to be adjusted. The numbers that we've used for so long to qualify, like, is this guy Hall of Fame worthy? I feel like Joey Votto's name comes up a lot as like a line of demarcation. Walks became cool. On base percentage became cool. How do you see that progressing in the next like 5 or 10 years as far as like what numbers are we going to be using, do you think?
That's actually a really interesting topic. My mind, you mentioned Joey Votto. My mind goes to starting pitching. I feel like we're going to have to totally reevaluate what we think of a Hall of Fame starting pitcher. I mean, there's great pitchers. I mean, we see Skeens and stuff who kind of feel like a throwback to, the times in like the early 2000s, 2010s. But there's really not many workhorses anymore. Like there's not many CC Sabathias or
Right.
Roy Halladay's left. And so I think we're really going to have to take a step back and look at what a Hall of Fame starting pitcher is moving forward in the next 10 to 20 years. Like it used to be like 300 wins was maybe a threshold, or a certain amount of strikeouts. I don't know if we'll ever see a player get the 300 wins again. Like I really don't know if we'll see it. And so when does that line, move down to a different amount of wins? Do we even care about wins anymore? Is a topic for, that people discuss as well. And so there really is going to have to be new lines drawn. Personally, I do think Joey Votto should be a Hall of Famer. I'll go ahead and say it. I think his numbers are there, and I think he was elite. And so I kind of am in on this new wave with position players, especially.
Yeah, I definitely think that there's a lot to be said about these players and adjusting how we assess them. And sometimes we get stuck in the data and looking at the advanced statistics, and those things are very important. But I do believe the eye test still does exist in baseball. And I think a player like Joey Votto, at some point, we all watched him and knew he was special. And I think watching, especially players that came up in that generation, he was just a step above everybody. And it's not his fault of the reason he did things well. It's what he did well. His skill set has been duplicated. People want to see players like Joey Votto years later. So in a lot of ways, he's ahead of his time. And I think Devin agrees with that as well. We discussed it on here. Just quickly about Baseball Reference. You mentioned that they collabed a post with you. Makes sense over here. You have over 75% more followers than them. So baseball.reference on Instagram. You guys follow Hall of Pretty Good and do what they do and add them to your Baseball Reference page. It would help your following Baseball Reference. Come on.
Thank you. I appreciate you supporting the movement.
Just to go back to the Hall of Fame argument, there's another argument I've heard recently that I kind of have started to embrace a little bit, as far as like maybe we start to look at like the 5-year peak of these guys, right? Their prime. Maybe I'm biased because I think of David Wright, whose career got cut short. Likely Hall of Famer if he had played like a full career that it looked like he was going to. Dustin Pedroia is another guy who comes up. Like you look at that peak, those 5 years in there, and you're like, this guy like was Hall of Fame track, and injuries kind of cut short. I don't know. Do you guys buy that? Like looking at that going forward?
I could totally be swayed, I feel like. And I know that might, make some purists angry because, we see how current Hall of Fame voters vote. Even one person had to go against Ichiro, I believe. It seems like they kind of like to vote no just to vote no. And so I don't know if we'd ever be able to convince those people to think that way, but possibly with a newer generation, in 30 years who are voting and are then older, maybe we could see something like that happen.
So I see a lot of the Boston memorabilia behind you. For those not watching on video, we got the City Connect Boston Red Sox jersey. As Bryce mentioned, he is a Red Sox fan. I see the Celtics jersey. Just curious, as we pivot and have this conversation around it, being that you're someone that's 23 years old, born in 2002, I assume, right? That's how, if I'm doing the math correct?
Number 2001, but yeah, pretty much.
But essentially, the identity of a Boston fan from, me growing up, obviously breaking the curse in 04 was devastating my Yankees and watching what they did. What's it like being a Boston fan that all you know is winning? The Celtics, the Bruins, the Patriots, and of course the Red Sox, multiple World Series in your lifetime. Because Devin and I talk about this. It's hard to assess like some of these fan bases. Like you've known nothing but winning your whole life, man.
Yeah, I definitely feel spoiled. And I see a lot of older fans, they complain a lot about the modern day Red Sox. And obviously they're a bit of a mess this season. But for me, I don't feel this same necessarily like push to win a championship because I didn't have to really go through that curse at all. I
Mm.
was, what, 3 years old when they reversed the curse. Like, and I vividly remember 07, 13, and 18. Like, I'm old enough to remember those. So, I mean, it really, I don't have the same frustration and like angst to like, oh my gosh, they got to win, because we're so used to losing all this time. I've known nothing but winning. I mean, I'm a pretty spoiled sports fan, if I'm being honest with you.
No, for sure. And that is something that has changed over time. The identity of the Chicago Cubs fan has changed. Like, of course, they got the one breaking their curse, but something changes when your identity is no longer the lovable loser. And for a while, the Red Sox, and aside from Yankee fans, everybody was rooting for them to break the curse. It's interesting how things shift. And, you being a very young man, it's fascinating to see how you've grown up and watched like the Bruins, and I mentioned the Celtics and the Patriots of the dynasty years. It just like there was a perfect storm for all of New England sports area.
Yeah, I've definitely been lucky. Like, I can't complain. I mean, even 2018 didn't even that long ago for a World Series win, if I'm being honest.
For sure.
I mean, like the Rangers in 2023, I think that was their first time ever winning one.
Yep.
And we remember the heartbreak they had, in the early 2010s. So, I mean, there's really not much to complain about over here.
So you recently had the chance to throw out the first pitch at a Portland Sea Dogs game. We saw that on Instagram, which is an amazingly cool moment. What was that experience like for you? And do you credit it to, the power of social media and baseball to getting you on that mound, throwing out the first pitch?
Yeah, I definitely do. I think if I didn't have a certain amount of followers, they would have just thrown that email right into spam, if I'm being honest. But I mean, it was something I reached out to them for. I asked, I figured you never know how long you're going to be relevant on the internet. I might as well try and take advantage of an opportunity. Excuse me. And it worked out really well. I was definitely nervous. I injured my right arm a while ago, so I had to learn to throw with my left. And so the form looks horrible, but I got it there. And it was pretty much over the plate, so I'll take it.
Wait, so you just asked them, right? You just sent an email. That's how the story went. You just shot your shot, and they were like, "No problem, dude. Show up. We'll give you a pass, and you get right in the field." I
emailed the GM like 2 months ago. I was like, "Hey, man, I got whatever amount of followers. Would it be cool if I threw out the first pitch? I can make posts about it and stuff." And they're like, "Yeah, sure. And what date do you have in mind?" And then
that's amazing.
It was easier than I thought, but yeah.
That's awesome. I got to say, man, like you said, you never know how long you're going to have that following on the internet. There's something about this. Like, we just saw John Boy get partially bought, or a stake bought by MLB in them. And like, obviously they've gone through quite a time for the last several years. But when I see your track over the last year there, and I saw the first pitch, I'm like, this guy's going to be throwing the first pitch at a major league game, like within a year. MLB Network or someone's going to have him on to have a conversation. Like, I'm just being honest. That's what I see. This thing just seems like a train that is not stopping anytime soon.
Thank you. I mean, I appreciate it. When I first started, I didn't, have any aspirations about it becoming what it was. It was supposed to kind of just be like a personal journal, to post about your random players in a creative outlet. And so I'm just really happy other people relate to it.
Yeah, it's so fascinating. Devin and I had this conversation last week just about how ESPN is no longer having the relationship with Major League Baseball, and just the coverage and how baseball is covered in general has changed so much since whatever year John Boy started. Because I think they played a large part in how baseball is covered at large. And I think pages like your own bring attention to the game of baseball, and it starts to separate this gatekeeping of traditionalists and all that. I think it's important for everybody to have fun with the game of baseball, because at the end of the day, baseball is supposed to be fun.
Definitely. And I think that's what's most important, is to try and keep, content fun. Like something like this podcast or my Instagram page. I mean, I feel like it's better and more entertaining for baseball fans than ESPN. Like, I hate ESPN broadcast on baseball games. Like, I don't like watching them, if I'm being honest with you. I know that might make me sound like a hater. That's just not how I like consuming my baseball media. It's more so stuff like this. And so I'm glad in a way to see ESPN let it go. And so maybe that opens up more room for people like us who truly care about baseball.
I'm with you, man. I don't think you're alone on that at all. We've expressed that actually recently, that, we talked last week about, will ESPN end up regretting this, because they just had these huge ratings with Red Sox Yankees last weekend. But someone put a meme out that I thought was genius, and it kind of really tells the tale of how ESPN covers baseball. Something along the lines of like, the Red Sox beat the Yankees in the third game of the series, Anyway, let's talk about Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani or something along those lines. Like, and don't get me wrong, those players deserve all the coverage they get, but it's like, can you spend more than like a second before you go back to the shiny objects? That's what I think gets, hardcore baseball fans and of other sports as well. Hockey, I think, probably has the same gripe sometimes. It can just be annoying at this point. MLB Network is great, but really digging into the details, podcasts, Instagram pages, things like that, it's a whole new world.
Definitely. I mean, you turn on ESPN right now, it's Shohei, it's LeBron, or it's the Dallas Cowboys. That's pretty much it. I think people are just tired of it, honestly.
Well, Bryce, I mean, we talked about this with a couple of guests just about assessing where baseball coverage or sports in general will be in a few years because of obviously all the different packages that you have to get with the streaming services. And I think NFL was the archetype for that, of just selling it to anyone with the rights, whether it's Thursday night or the Saturday games or whatever game on a Sunday. Where do you see sports in general going? Do you see it living in all these different spaces that sports fans are going to have to hemorrhage money to consume all games of their favorite team? Like for baseball, to watch 162 Red Sox games, are you going to have to go to 5 different spots, or do you think this consolidating and going full circle back to where we used to be?
I mean, obviously, I would love to see it go back to that. I mean, my parents live in Virginia, and so like I cannot watch the Orioles games due to local blackouts, but they're 4 hours away from Camden Yards, so it's not even local. I mean, stuff like that really just grinds my gears, And then baseball needs to be accessible for anybody who really wants to watch it. I mean, they complain, about pace of play. Well, they used to. Obviously, these rules have, amended that to a bit, but they complain about the younger audience not really wanting to watch baseball. But it's hard to even get them interested when it's not easily accessible to watch. And I've seen that so many places. People are just so fed up with that. And so it would just be nice. And I don't know how you get it done to get rid of that and just make it accessible. I know some teams, I can't think of any, but I've seen it advertised. You pay like $100 a year, you can watch every single game. I mean, something like that is nice. I just wish there was a way to do it for every team in a way that just got rid of these local blackouts.
So we mentioned the Sea Dogs just a few minutes ago, talking about your first pitch there just a couple days ago. Former Sea Dog, I believe he spent some time there. Roman Anthony just debuted last night, got his first hit tonight, 2 RBIs on that hit. Did you ever get to see him play live? And whether you did or not, what are your expectations realistically for Roman Anthony?
Yeah, I got to see him play in AAA actually. And I want to believe he's the real deal. I hope so. I mean, that's a lot to ask out of somebody. I mean, I would his floor. I'd love to see like a Jacoby Ellsbury type player. I mean, something like that. A little bit of speed, a little bit of power, decent average. Just an all around pretty good ball player. So, pun not intended there. But I would like to see him, at least develop into something like that. And so it's hard to be like, yeah, man, 8-time All-Star, potential Hall of Famer. I'm really just hoping for maybe somebody like an Ellsbury type, borderline All-Star. But obviously I want more than that. But if I'm being realistic, that's what I'd like to see.
It's tough because, people have been talking about this guy for a couple of years now. Since he was in probably high A, I've heard about Roman Anthony over and over. And the comps sometimes can make it hard to keep your expectations realistic. I heard on MLB Network, one of the guys, I can't remember which one, said like, I expect Roman Anthony on the Red Sox to kind of be like putting Bryce Harper playing at Fenway, like banging over that short wall, banging it off the monster, like things like that. And I was like, oh man, like way to put pressure on a kid to a national audience there. But I mean, obviously you have to like the comparison, but to your point, as a fan, you want to try to land somewhere in the middle so you don't get disappointed super quickly.
Yeah, definitely. I think maybe a Bryce Harper comparison is, trying to garner up a hot take for clicks, possibly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a little bit of a crazy thing to say to somebody just getting out there. But I mean, if it happens, that's great for me.
So before Devin asked his follow-up on the Roman stuff, we heard a lot of chatter, and it's died down a little bit. I think maybe it was a slow week in baseball about Jarren Duran potentially being moved from the Red Sox, and the Padres are interested. Of course, who wouldn't be interested in Jarren Duran and his skill set? Do you see this logjam being a problem? It's creeping up as being an issue with the Orioles. If not, it's just apparently obvious they have not managed their roster and their young talent well. Do you feel like that's possible here with Meyer, Campbell, and now Roman Anthony up here, there obvious is a lot of talent with Rafael out there, and the outfielders are definitely earning their stake in playing in the field. So it's not like you want to move on from any of these guys. Is it possible to have too much talent on the team where you're not able to play everybody every single day?
So it is possible, and I do worry about the logjam, but as soon as I get worried about something like that, I mean, Bregman goes down with a serious injury, then that creates another hole. It seems like a lot of times I get worried about this, it kind of works itself out to a certain degree, but obviously a logjam could happen. And Red Sox fans do not like it when anybody brings this up, but I see the logic in trading Duran. I believe he's already 28 years old. I think he'll turn 29 sometime this baseball season. People with his skill set, if I'm being blunt, don't usually age well into their 30s. I mean, he's a speed guy, takes the extra base. I mean, he just relies on that speed a lot, and you never know how long that's going to stay into their 30s. I mean, it's hard to think about a speedy outfielder who's still elite in that sense at like age 33, 34. I mean, you really can't come up with that many names. So I do see the logic in trading Duran while you can get a lot for him instead of waiting till he's 32 and banged up and slow. So I kind of see the vision, I guess, where if there's a logjam, we move Duran instead of a younger Rafaela who's locked up or a younger Abreu who's a gold glover and showed you what type of potential he had during that first month of the season. So I do get it.
What about the Devers? If we're going to talk about the Red Sox, we got to talk about the Devers stuff. Steve and I have gone back and forth about this because it just keeps on coming back. Like every time you think it's gone away, all right, oh, he wasn't hitting the beginning of the season. Now he leads the AL and RBI, so the story goes away for a little while. Now they want him to maybe play first base after Cassis goes out. He doesn't want to play first base, so the story's back. Then it goes away, and then all of a sudden he's taking reps at first base. Alex Cora said he didn't know anything about it. It just feels like front office, player, coach are all on different pages. That's coming from two guys that are not living in Boston, not necessarily reading the front pages and following it every single day. But as a Red Sox fan, your thoughts on that whole situation?
I think the communication aspect of everything has just been weird. Like, I don't really know how else to say it other than it's been weird. I believe Cora said Devers, or at least Devers said that he was told he wouldn't have to worry about using a glove like ever again, or at least this season. And then all of a sudden there's these things coming up, play first base, go to third, Bregman's hurt. And at first, I feel kind of mad at Devers because I'm like, you've got this big contract. You should do whatever's best for the team if that's you being out in the field. Because like before we got on here, I watched the Red Sox game. And he's got like a 920 OPS. It's hard to be mad at somebody who's putting up those types of numbers. I mean, he's usually around, high to mid 800s in OPS. So he's doing even better without playing the field. So, I mean, if we're getting this type of offensive production, it's kind of hard to be mad at him, I guess. But I do think he needs to do what's best for the team. But like I said, we don't know what's going on with the front office, what they told him, and what he's supposed to believe. It's been such weird. You hear so many different stories coming down. Cora said this, Breslow said that, Devers said that. Was the translation mixed up? It's just a weird situation. I don't even fully know what to think of it.
Yeah, I think a lot of the Red Sox stuff has to do with miscommunication and just not getting ahead of things. And we've covered it on week to week. And the best deodorant, as I always say, is winning. And the Red Sox have a hard time doing that consistently this year. But if they start getting, on a large win streak and start to really thin that gap with the AL East lead, all these things start to become copacetic. We just got breaking news on here that just was retweeted by Alden Gonzalez of the LA Media. Jeff Passan reposted, so I think it is legit, where Shohei Ohtani is expected to join the Dodgers rotation at some point in July. So that's they said it's probably a 0% chance that it's going to be before the All-Star break. But do you think that's a good idea for Shohei Ohtani to be a 2 to 3 inning starter that they're trying to bring him out there? Or should we just rely on the MVP level offense that we're seeing from him?
My take at this point, I'd just let him hit and not worry about the pitching. I mean, we see what he's done just focusing on the bat the last, year and a half. I mean, what's the point? I know they have a lot of starters injured, a lot of pitchers hurt. I saw some crazy number of the starters they have on the injured list. But what if he messes something up and that takes away his bat too? I just think you have to weigh all the options. I don't think 2 innings of Shohei every 10 days is really worth it, if I'm being honest, or 7 days. I even wonder if he'd throw every 5th day like a normal starter, with the injury concerns you have. And so I don't think it's worth it to even try at this point, if I'm being honest.
I'm completely with you, and partly because the Dodgers don't exactly have a good track record here of keeping their pitchers healthy. Like, it seems like if they were not winning as much as they have been, it would be a much bigger conversation right now as far as like what are they doing in their system with how they're bringing these pitchers up, how they're working out these pitchers that's getting all these guys hurt. I said to Steve jokingly last week, back 10, 15 years ago as a Met fan, every single Met fan from the hardcore to the casuals knew the head trainer's name, Ray Ramirez, because our guys were getting hurt every 2 seconds. And it's also because we were losing. If we were winning, maybe it's not as big of a story, but I'm with you on the Shohei Ohtani stuff. What he's done in a Dodger uniform, it's just like, why even risk messing it up?
Definitely.
Yeah, just it seems a little bit, but breaking news right here on Table Setters with Bryce on the pod with us. So we discussed your follower account, and you did float the idea of rallying the community to collectively buy the Pittsburgh Pirates, which is bold and honestly probably something the Pirates fans would embrace. Any updates on that front? Is the movement gaining any momentum, even in like tongue-in-cheek style way?
Yeah, all you guys have to do is each one of you that follows me, pay $13,000, and then we can afford worth over $1 billion. But no, it's just something goofy. I do think some people actually think that we're gonna try it because they'll send me all this stuff and be like, "Well, legally, I don't think we can because you have to have like this and all the paperwork." And I'm like, God, we're just having some fun. I'm trying to make Pirates fans feel better. Maybe I should have chose the Rockies, honestly, seeing how it's going for them. But no, it's just something funny that it makes Pirates fans smile, and I think they needed something, so I just throw it out there once a week.
Well, honestly, like, if 5-10 years from now you are the face of the Pittsburgh Pirates, just don't forget about us little guys over here. Maybe we can have you on. You'll be our first owner guest that we've ever had on Table Setters. I got to ask you. So I feel like the first time I saw you when we first started our thing was I saw you kind of as a podcast form. Are you still doing the podcast from time to time? And whether you are or not, tell us a little bit about the podcast form of MLB MLB Hall of Pretty Good.
Yeah, so I mean, I started this as a podcast only, and I only posted about my podcast. But after like a few months, I don't know how you guys do it. Nobody listened to me like at all. I'd work, like 8 hours on a Saturday, work all week, spend 8 hours on a Saturday writing, recording, editing, and I'd get like, 6 listeners all week. I just didn't find it worth my time. I know I should have kept going probably. So I've kind of, unless I'm interviewing somebody, I don't really do podcasting that much anymore. Sometime if I have a lot of free time, I might go back into it, but I just didn't find it worth my time. So, I mean, hats off to you guys for keeping it going as long as you have. It's just not something I ever had the patience to do with nobody listening, if I'm being honest.
Well, what about those interviews? Like which interviews stick out to you as far as players that you were able to talk to?
Yeah, I mean, he might be a little bit above the pretty good mold, obviously, but Brett Saberhagen is a guy I got to interview a while ago. Cy Young Award winner, all-star, one of the best pitchers in Royals history. He might be just behind Zach Greinke, possibly. I sent him an email, actually. I had maybe like 700 followers. And I was like, hey, man, can I interview you for like 20 minutes on Zoom? And he hit me back like right away. It was just like, yeah, as long as you can maybe, shout out my charity real quick. He has a charity for cancer patients, Saves Wings. Great charity. Sorry for the plug. But but he said as long as I do that, he's fine with doing it. So he came on and he talked to me for an hour just about his career.
Wow.
And it was amazing to hear, somebody like him talk about baseball and all the things he's seen and gotten to do. And so that was definitely a really great moment for me.
So if we're learning our lesson from you, Bryce, it's just shoot your shot, man. You want to throw the first pitch out? Send an email. You want to interview Brett Saberhagen? Send an email. So guys out there, just take your shot. Like, you don't know the worst they can do is say no, right, Bryce?
Definitely. Yeah. If you see somebody that you want to talk to and they have like their email in their bio or it's like on their website, shoot them an email. I mean, I've gotten told no by players, plenty of times or left on red, but the one or two times they say yes, it's like the greatest feeling ever. I say just go for it.
Well, now it seems like you have the base for if you were to post a podcast with 100K followers that are, it's not just like you have a ghost face different followers. These people are engaging with your content on a daily basis. I feel like if you were to start the podcast consistently again, people would come. Sort of like Field of Dreams. You build it, they will come.
True.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I'm a teacher, special education teacher, so I'm about to
Look
have
at all of us
Got
teachers
two
in this
teachers
room.
there,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yes, I'm gonna have the summer off, start next week, so maybe it's something I could get into again.
So we did touch base on a lot of the MLB topics before, but let's jump into a few of these topics that are relevant as of early June of 2025. You guys listen to this as evergreen content because it is evergreen content for sure. Looking at the landscape right now, who do you see as the leading World Series contender? And if you're going to go with the Dodgers, which is a totally fair concept, we talked about Shohei returning to the rotation, just making them a little bit stronger. Give us one other team you think could make a serious run to stand tall in October.
I just saw him play, and I'm not very partial to them, but I do think the Yankees could have another chance at going back. I got to admit, I looked at the roster at the start of the season, and I really wasn't impressed on paper, if I'm being honest. And that's not just me, being a Red Sox fan and hating on the Yankees. I looked at it, they were projected to win the 90s. I was like, is this really like a 95 win team? And then I get out there and I see them, and I'm like, well, maybe it is. I mean, I know Luke Weaver, I believe he's on the shelf right now, but he's been elite since you got him. You get him back going. I really think, Jazz, he's had some injury troubles. I know he had a rehab assignment a few weeks ago. He's working his way back. Stanton, I believe he's in Double-A on a rehab assignment right now. I mean, you get all these little pieces back. I really wouldn't be shocked to see them in the ALCS, World Series again and contended for it.
Yeah, I like the sound of that for sure. And we had the same conversation previewing the Yanks here, and losing Soto was the biggest story that no one could get away from in New York. I mean, everywhere. The Soto sweepstakes was everywhere you turned, but it might be this blessing in disguise because with the injuries, and it's the fallacy of the predetermined outcome, as Michael Kay says, but Luis Gil going down, and then obviously Garrett Cole going down. Where would the Yankees be without Max Fried? And you can make the argument Max Fried does not get signed if Juan Soto gets the bag from the Yankees, and the rest is history. So they filled in the gaps, but similar, I definitely am siding as a realistic Yankee fan. There is definitely some reservations with the older side of things. Like, where will Paul Goldschmidt be in the dog days? Cody Bellinger, can he keep it up? You mentioned Jazz, he just got back, but injuries are a concern. He plays the game a little bit in a style that is conducive to getting hurt. I think the endurance and the attrition of a long season, we'll see where they stand, but I'm super impressed with where the Yankees are this year. They're more of a team than they have been in many years, and they feel like they take the field and they're going to win every single day. It's a good feeling as a Yankee fan.
Yeah, I mean, it's early into the deal, but Max Fried seems like a genius signing. I mean, and how lucky are they that they chased Fried instead of like a Corbin Burns? I mean, we saw what just happened to them. Yeah. I mean, and I feel the same way about the Red Sox for trading for Crochet, even though it hurt to lose Kyle Teal instead of chasing Burns. I was a big Corbin Burns fan. I mean, still am. And so he was a guy I kind of wanted to see these teams go get. But, I mean, it seems like both teams dodged a bullet by going after Fried and Crochet.
I mean, yeah, Fried, not only has he made the Yankees brass look like geniuses, but he's made the Braves look like bozos. They didn't even give him a shot, and the Braves are known for trying to lock up their guys. I thought that was so strange. So strange that it just didn't even seem like there was an attempt all year to kind of have a conversation. I guess they were very confident in Strider coming back and kind of replacing him, and obviously Schwellenbach's great, and they usually are just used to being able to replace these guys in Atlanta, but it just didn't come to fruition, or at least it hasn't yet. But let's talk about some of the young stars. We talk a lot on this show about how blessed Major League Baseball is right now with all these young stars and guys continuing to come up. Game's in a very healthy place. If you were to start a franchise right now, give me the 3 guys you are starting that franchise with. It could be position players, pitchers, a mix, however you want to do it.
Man, I feel like we got to go Paul Skeens. I mean, you need a good starter. I mean, he hasn't shown us anything to make me think he's not the real deal. This is another person I'd go with. Might be a head scratcher to some people, but I'd pick Cal Raleigh. I love switch hitting.
Yeah, I love that.
He's been able to do this season. I mean, just both sides of the plate, he's got you covered. And then I'm gonna go Red Sox bias here. I take Marcelo Meyer. I think he's the best out of the group of prospects. I think over time he'll have the best career. You got a guy who can play short and third. Young as he is, I think those are the 3 I would go with to start my squad.
I love those answers because it is outside the box. And I mean, you're a little biased with Paul Skeens because he's going to be a future player that you're going to resign as the future Pirates owner. So there it is.
Yeah.
We'll make sure that we're locking up your guy. But speaking of the Hall of pretty good, any current players that you've got your eye as that could be a future case for your Hall, not maybe heading to Cooperstown, but some pretty good players out that are catching your eye that are currently taking the field?
Yeah, I mean, Jazz Chisholm's one of them. I think he's perfectly set himself up. Dodgers, Tommy Edman, I think he's another great
Yeah.
choice to look at.
Nice.
I made a post about Luke Weaver a few days ago, potentially. If you look at his career numbers, they're not great because, he scuffled a bit early on. But if he could keep going and figure it out, I mean, people like that. I mean, I think Adley Rushman's trying to play his way onto the Hall pretty good. And if I look at it seriously, somebody like Cedric Mullins sticks out to me, and Anthony Santander in Toronto. Players like that, it's a lot of guys, which, I look at mainly Santander when I say this, who are great at one skill set, like elite at one skill set and kind of average at all the other ones, are the type of people who seem to stick out in this Hall. Like I've got Mark Reynolds, who hit a lot of home runs, Jackie Bradley Jr., known for his defense, just people who are elite at one tool. And so I think he's struggled a lot this year, but Santander is somebody who definitely fits the mold.
Give us your biggest disappointment so far this year and your biggest surprise.
Biggest disappointment was it's got to be the Orioles. I mean, I know I keep going to the AL East, but that's where a lot of my attention focuses on. I didn't see the disaster coming, and it seems like a lot of people who are deep fans of the Orioles kind of did, actually, from what I'm reading about it. They weren't happy with Hyde. Losing Burns hurts, losing Santander hurts regardless of what they did. But I looked at their offseason, though, when I really start thinking about it, they really didn't do much to help their team. I mean, I'm not sure what their game plan is here. They're mishandling a lot of their guys, it seems like. So I guess I'm just kind of surprised of how the Orioles turned out. It's a big disappointment to me. And then Atlanta's another surprise to me, too. I thought they would just keep on trucking, and that's another team that's scuffling right now. And, I mean, you're a Mets fan, I assume. I believe you said that. I mean, look at somebody like Griffin Canning. They just let him walk, I believe, if I'm correct. I mean, and he's not super elite, but he's putting up great numbers. Like, you'd love to have that in that rotation right now. There's a couple just decisions they made in hindsight that look terrible to me.
Agreed.
So as far as the Orioles go, any chance of nominating a team for Hall of Pretty Good? Because, I mean, they have some history there.
That'd be interesting.
But, dude, I agree with you that we've been so critical of the Orioles. I might be captain of the hate club of what they did this offseason of just dropping the ball. And they are, to me, a cautionary tale about how to mismanage or how young talent can be mismanaged. Every button they have pushed is the wrong button. And the Corbin Burns thing, I give them credit. They did go out and try to sign him, and he took the deal. Corbin wanted to go home, Arizona, whole thing. But the moves they made, even in the trade deadline last year, your window was open, and they didn't just shut the window. They put those storm shutters on them. You can't even look out the window anymore.
Yeah, that trade with the Marlins they made still gets brought up a lot. People are not happy about that one.
And with that trade too, it's like we wanted them to trade offensive prospects away for pitching because they had too many anyway. These guys all didn't have a spot. They're still struggling to find spots for these guys. It was just the wrong trade. Like Trevor Rogers, who they've gotten almost nothing out of, hasn't been good for years now. At one point, he was a stud, but it's been a long time. It's just such a head scratcher that's what they ended up going with and getting for two pretty good. Or again, I'm not saying pretty good on purpose, but it's hard not to. That's why it's a good name because it just flows. It's a whole nother topic, but
yeah, I do think they had a chance to cash in and get a household name, and they got a guy who's like a number 3 or 4 at best, in my opinion. And that's no disrespect. I mean, he's still a good big leaguer, but like I said, like why weren't they in on Crochet or somebody like that? I mean,
exactly.
Go home. I always say if you're going to trade the prospects, go get a household name.
Yeah, and I think the whole thing, too, is there was a time where everybody was in love with the Orioles prospects because it was in vogue. It was trendy, and they could do no wrong. They were the sexy pick in MLB, both on the field, AAA, et cetera. They were the model franchise, and it quickly turns around. I mean, we watched your Red Sox change the narrative last year with the play on the field. All of a sudden, they were ahead of schedule, and the expectations going to this year, you have my co-host on the show, picking them to win the World Series. That shows how quickly the tide can change as far as perception goes. And the Orioles are the exact opposite direction of where we thought they'd be. You mentioned being disappointment. I mean, they got to be the biggest disappointment. They have to be. Biggest disappointment we've seen the last 5 years, I think.
I mean, I felt like they set themselves up to make, to win probably 2 World Series in the next 5 years. Looking back like a year or two ago, I thought that's where they'd be at. But I don't even know if I think this window might even be closed now, honestly, for all I know.
Oh, yeah. No windows. There's a windowless basement apartment right now and just paying maximum rent. But the All-Star game is about a month away. We love the All-Star game for our fantasy baseball league. It's one of the meetups we have every year. We gather, we get some wings, drink some beer, watch the All-Star game. And to me, it's my favorite exhibition game they have across all sports. Any picks right now you're thinking about who gets the vote to start? I know you mentioned Paul Skeens before, so that might have been tipping your hand as far as the answer for the NL, but who's your guy starting the All-Star game this year?
I mean, Skeens has got to go. And Max, I want to say Crochet out of being biased, but I'm not sure. He's not been the most dominant. I mean, do you go somebody like a Max Fried or something like that? I mean, that's a tough one. I don't know. That's one I haven't really thought about. I'm just so focused on my Red Sox bias most of the time. But yeah, I mean, I go Skeens in the NL, of course. And then AL, I mean, I feel like it's a bit of a toss-up. I don't know if anybody's 100%, cast himself away as the number one guy yet.
It's crazy. I mean, I think Fried will come to most people's minds, but if you look at what Chris Bubich is doing in Kansas City, like a one-time Hall of Pretty Good candidate, this guy might be playing himself out of it. Maybe not, because you got to look at the whole career. Maybe, but he might actually be a perfect candidate with what he's doing. But Bryce, we're gonna try to play 2 kinds, I guess you could call them, games here with you. The first one, we're gonna run through, I think it's about 7 or 8 combinations here. It's going to be journeyman combinations as far as guys who played for a lot of different teams in their career. We're going to give you the player and a team. You're going to tell us if it was a true combination, like it actually happened, or false, like that. No, they did not have a combination together. You got what I'm saying?
Yeah, I will try not to embarrass myself.
It's all right, because everyone that's listening, playing at home, I mean, I'd be surprised if anyone out there gets 100%, but if anybody does, you can tweet at us and let us know that you killed this here. All right, so the first combination we have for you, Cameron Maybin and the Mets.
I believe he did play for the Mets.
You got that one right. 1 for 1. Good start. I think it was his last stop. Wasn't a great one. I think it took him for like 20 at-bats or so to get a hit. But that is true. Okay. All right, let's go to the next one.
Devin, I'm play some rock music in the background over here. We got to get some game show
give us some music. All right, good idea.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go the late Octavio Dotel, Angels.
No, he did not.
Man, you're on a roll here to start. 2 for 2. Nicely done. Okay, Rich Hill, a.k.a. Dick Mountain, and the Twins.
Yes, he did pitch for the Twins.
3 for 3, Bryce. You're killing this here. All right, let's keep on rolling. Matt, in case of emergency, use stairs, and the Brewers.
Oh, man. I know Nationals. I know Padres. I'm going to say no.
All right, that's the first one you got wrong. The first one, not perfection anymore, but that's okay. You're just going for pretty good here.
I cannot picture him in a Brewers uniform. I gotta Google.
I mean, he
right
kind
now.
of just looks like a brewer, though, like Matt Stairs.
Just because he drinks at a brewery, Devin, doesn't make him a brewer.
I'm just saying. All right, so 3 for 4 here, which I mean, you're still batting 750, so you're doing well here. Kenny Lofton, Padres.
Oh God, he played for everyone. I want to say no. I don't remember playing for the Padres.
You're good. You got that one. You're back on the right
Let's
path.
look at Matt Stairs quick in the Brewers uniform. He looks like a brewer. You're right.
Right.
It had to be that uniform. It had to be the
He looks like
uniform.
a third base coach. He looks like the third base coach.
Always did. Did he come up and he looked like a third base coach?
Yeah, then he hit a bomb. All right, so 4 for 5 so far. We got one more regular one and then kind of a special one at the end. All right, so this one, Tommy Pham, still active. The Braves. Tommy Pham on the Braves.
No, never had.
All right, good job, man. That's 5 for 6, I believe, by my calculations. The last thing, I'm going to put my timer on here. 1 minute. So Edwin Jackson is known to have played for the most teams, 14 teams.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to make sure I get the list up so I can track this. I'm going to put 1 minute on the clock. You're going to try to name as many of the teams as he played for as possible. I'll tell you when to start, all right? Actually, I'm just going to watch the recording time so I can look at the list. All right, so we're at 49-25. All right, go ahead, Bryce.
Okay, Rays, Tigers, Diamondbacks, Nationals, Athletics, White Sox. How many am I at now?
I think you're at 6, if I'm counting right. It's either 5 or 6 here.
Did he pitch for the Braves?
I'm looking quickly. Yes, 7. Halfway here.
This is a lot harder than I thought. Dodgers. He pitched for the Dodgers.
Yep, you're up to 8.
Oh, man.
You got about 20 seconds here.
Trying to go through the divisions in my head.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. We got about 10 seconds here.
I'm blanking here.
Not easy.
I think I'm tapped out.
All right, so we got 8 here. So here, I'm going to list them here for you quickly. You did great. 5 for 6 on the regular questions. 8 out of the 14 teams here in the lightning round. So Edwin Jackson, in over 17 years, he appeared for the Dodgers, the Rays. I believe you got both of those. The Tigers, you got that. D-backs, I think you got D-backs. That's when I think he threw that crazy no-hitter for the D-backs where he threw like a million pitches, walked a million guys. White Sox, Cardinals, I'm not sure if you got Cardinals. Nationals, Cubs, Braves, Marlins, Padres, Orioles, A's, Blue Jays. That's a lot of teams.
No idea.
Who knows? Some of these were probably really short stops, cups of coffee. But yeah, 14 teams for Edwin Jackson there.
Just a bonus question here, Bryce. How many pitches did Edwin Jackson throw in that no-hitter? I just looked it up, and that's an insane number.
Can I just say I have a number in my head? I'm going to put a guess out after Bryce takes a guess here.
Was it like 130 or 140 or something like that?
North of it, 149 pitches.
I was going to say 148, I swear to God.
Guys, dude, what a mess of a game, but he somehow got a no-hitter. Makes it more memorable, in my opinion, though. You know what I mean? Like I remember that no-hitter very vividly.
I think through the first 3, he threw like a ton of pitches, and then he kind of locked in after that, if I remember correctly. It was something crazy like that. That is one of the most insane no-hitters ever.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
So if you're up for another game here, this is not a question game. This is more of an opinion-based one where we have a blind rankings. I'm sure you're familiar with the blind rankings you've seen social media-wise. And we decided to pick a 5-year period, 2010 to 2015, edition of Hall of Pretty Good Position Players. So we're going to give you 10 names, one at a time, and you have to blindly rank them from 1 to 10 based on your gut reaction. Once you place someone, you can't move them. So position players from the early 2010s who weren't superstars, but who were definitely pretty good. So
awesome.
I would assume Devin, number 1 being best, number 10 being the 10th, whatever, the 10th best.
Yeah. Yes.
The 10th pretty good. Yep. All right, let's start with Travis Hafner.
Number 2.
Nice.
Oh, wow. I love this. I got to say, this is like near impossible from like how big of a pool of players this is, like having no idea who's on the list. But we're going to look back at the end and see how well you did. So Travis Hafner's going in at number 2, a very high ranking for the first candidate here.
And feel free at the end of this, Bryce, to say if these players are not qualified for pretty good. So I think Devin and I compiled a list of players that we thought were pretty good through text messages. But the second player is Adam Lind.
Adam Lind, he had a great last season. Overall, I think he had 200 homers on the dot. Let me see. I'm gonna go 7 for Adam Lind.
7, okay.
All right, we got Wilson Ramos.
See, he got kidnapped and made a few all-star teams. I'm gonna go 6. I think he's a little bit more valuable than Lind as a catcher.
Shout out to you, by the way. 200 home runs on the dot for Adam Lind. Good memory over there.
Impressive.
Eric Sogard, if you guys remember, he won Face of Baseball one year on MLB Network.
So ridiculous.
He actually did not win. He was runner-up to David Wright, and they rigged it. I know they rigged it. There's no way.
I thought he beat David Wright because Gary Cohen still talks about this with like vitriol in his voice. Like it still pissed him off.
David Wright won, but there's a big conspiracy that, everyone just like kind of wrote in Sogard as a joke and he really won. But MLB Network was like, we can't have that.
Maybe
so
we need to do like a mini episode on the conspiracy theory of Eric Sogard being the face of baseball. It's like
there's a conspiracy theory I believe in, and I love Eric Sogard, but I got to put him at 10 when I look at his resume compared to the other people we've named.
Okay.
Not the face of baseball. Decision made. Lyle Overbay.
That's such a good name.
Lyle, more doubles than Mickey Mantle Overbay. Let's see. I always thought of him as not as great as Adam Lind, if I'm being honest. So I'm gonna put him at 8.
Okay.
All right. We got Marlon Byrd.
Oh, he was sneaky good for a while. He's an immaculate grid legend as well. I'm gonna put him at 9. I'm sorry, I got to.
Okay.
All right.
Let me update you on the list so far here, just so you know where your open spots are. It feels like you have a pretty good feel for it on your own here, but 1 is still open. I think that's smart. You want to leave that spot open for a little bit in any blind rankings. You have 2, Travis Hafner, 3 is open, 4 is open, 5 is open. And then 6 to 10 is Wilson Ramos, Adam Lind, Lyle Overbay, Marlon Byrd, and Eric Sogard.
Kind of backed myself into a corner now.
We got 4 left here. We're going to go with Andre Ethier.
Oh, man, Andre Ethier, great player. I feel like Hafner in his prime was more prolific. I'm going to go 4 for Andre Ethier.
All right, we're going to go with San Francisco Giant great Joe Panic.
Oh, man. He's no 5. No disrespect. But
we also could have done the same game with this player that we did with Edwin Jackson. Didn't play for many teams, but I picture him many uniforms, but came up with the Yankees, Melky Cabrera.
Oh, Melky Cabrera. What spots do I have open again? Is it what
1 and 3? Just 1 and 3.
He's got to go 3.
All right. Well, let's reveal who your number 1 player is right here. It's the great Alex Rios.
I mean, if you
he had some studly years, so let's be honest.
Career numbers, I think they're a lot better than people are going to remember them. I mean, he was a good player. I mean, I'm fine with him at 1. I'd probably switch Hafner if I had to do it all over again and put him at 1. But Alex Rios, not a bad player at all.
Well, I think we're going to tweet this out at some point, maybe not right away, but maybe a day or 2 after we put the episode out, and see people's feelings on it. Maybe we'll compare it to their like F War or something. I don't know how you feel about War, but I think it'd be interesting. I'll read the list here. So Bryce of the Hall of Pretty Good. These are players around the 2010 time, 2015, some a little before, a little after, but they played within that span. Number 1, Alex Rios. Number 2, Travis Hafner. Number 3, Melky Cabrera. Number 4, Andre Ethier. Number 5, Joe Panic. Number 6, Wilson Ramos. 7, Adam Lind. 8, Lyle Overbay. 9, Marlon Byrd. And 10, Eric Sogard. I think you got to feel pretty good about that.
I think Joe Panic, and no offense to him, he had his moments. I think that's the only real misstep, having him that high. I think Ramos and Lind obviously had better careers, and Marlon Byrd. But other than that, I mean, that's not terrible.
Very Toronto Blue Jay heavy list over here, if I do say so myself. A lot of Blue Jay flavoring on this one, Devin.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. I don't know why. I kind of tried to do this randomly too, but you're right now that I look at it.
Yeah, Alex Rios, man, I do agree with you. I think Hafner should be 1, but looking at Rios's numbers, there was a time period where I wouldn't say he was elite, but there was he could carry a lineup on any given night if he really wanted to, and he was carrying those Blue Jays teams for that little period of time there. And Lyle Overbay was also on that squad as well.
Yeah.
So, man, Bryce, we appreciate you coming on here as we approach an hour here. I want to give you the platform to discuss everything you're doing at Hall of Pretty Good, get some shilling in, talk about what you love, and I'll give you the platform for the next couple minutes.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I appreciate you guys having me. As far as Hall of Pretty Good goes, I'm just going to continue to post a lot every day like I have been doing. Going to throw out the first pitch at a Fisher Cats game, a AA team for the Blue Jays on June 18th, so I'm excited about that. But other than that, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. Thank you guys for having me on.
I actually been to the Fisher Cat Stadium. They have great mozzarella sticks. I'm a connoisseur of myself, and really great stadium. It was a hot as hell day, but it was awesome over there. It actually was one of the days they were wearing one of those unique uniforms, and I think they were wearing the Los Gatos Aztecas jerseys that they were wearing, and they were doing like a rebrand day, so I bought a shirt over there. But great stadium. Try the mozzarella sticks if you do enjoy them, Bryce. And I forgot where I was going exactly with the Fisher Cat thing. Kind of threw me for a loop for a second. But also too, the thing about Denard Span. We want to make sure everyone's on that. We did mention at the beginning of the episode, Denard Span is getting his opportunity to enter the Hall of Pretty Good. I think at some point when you get as large as John Boy, which I believe you will be at some point, graphic designing should create actual plaques for you that should live in lore.
Oh my
where
God.
like you should have like, when you mentioned Luke Weaver, we should have a jungle cat on it. Other Denard Span, we can pick out something different and a little blurb in there that you obviously will have a hand in inscribing about what would be said about the player, what makes them pretty good.
I think that would be a fantastic idea to look to in the future.
And for any doubters out there that are thinking like you can't have like a Hall of Fame, that, you know, there's not a physical place to go. We always have to sneak wrestling into here. Sorry, Travis. But for the longest time, maybe still, WWE Hall of Fame is a thing. And for the longest time, it had no location. Does it still have no location?
Yeah, they just bring it on the road. Like that's all they do, like access.
Right.
And all
that
stuff
doesn't
during
count.
WrestleMania
Yeah, that
week.
doesn't count.
No, they got so much stuff.
I'm just
too, it's
saying.
annoying.
I'm just saying.
Sorry. I was a big WWE fan as a kid. I still watch it from time to time. I was always so mad that Zack Ryder never got the push he deserved. And so I just want to put that out there.
Long Island's
Are you-
own.
Are you familiar with what he's up to right now? Am I breaking news to you right now? Do you know what Zack Ryder's up to nowadays?
What, with like the King of the Indie stuff?
Yeah. Have you watched any of his deathmatch stuff?
I really haven't. I don't have anything against other promotions. I've just always been like, just watch WWE kind of
That's your
casual.
squad. I got you.
Yeah, that's just kind of how I've been. But all the online stuff he was doing at the time, you know, Vince should have pushed him to the moon. I think. I just want to throw that out there.
He never liked guys that got themselves over. Anybody who got themselves over, he basically punished. That was the way of WWE for a long time.
There is a very good shot, in my opinion, that one day Matt Cardona will be back in the WWE ring. He looks the part, and also he's best friends with Cody Rhodes. So I think that he'll be back in the good graces of WWE one of these days. I think he likes what he's doing, probably making good money on the independents. But
yeah,
Matt Cardona, if you're out there, you got to come back to WWE for Bryce. We'll bring him back to watch the product.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, if I had one wish too, I would wish that I could execute a Starship Pain like Morrison used to do on WWE. I think half the time I don't even think he actually made contact with the guy, but the way he like flung his body around, I thought that was the coolest thing ever. Sorry for the wrestling talk. Just had to throw that out there.
You got to say sorry to Travis. He's one of the guy in our baseball league who actually he starts to watch wrestling now at this point. It's become like he's the one talking in our chat about wrestling. So
we
is there a baseball player? Is there a baseball player, Bryce, that anyone that could do the Starship Pain? Do you think Jaron Duran can pull it off if he practiced a little bit?
He probably could. I mean, a guy who's in the Hall of Pretty Good, Josh Reddick, he loves the WWE.
Yes.
Loves wrestling. So I wouldn't be surprised if he hadn't attempted it at least once in his life.
Oh, yeah. Josh Reddick is the man, dude. For a little bit there, that was like my spirit animal on the field. So, but Bryce, it was a pleasure having a conversation with you. Keep up all the amazing work you're doing, bringing positivity to the baseball community. Make sure you guys follow everything that's going on there at MLB Hall of Good. Check it out. Check out the show when it eventually comes back with the 100K followers over there, where inevitably you get. And check out the Evergreen interview of the Brett Saberhagen stuff. That stuff I'm sure is a fascinating listen. I'm going to go back in the archives and check it out. Be my commute companion tomorrow, Bryce. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I'm sorry for your ears for having to listen to that. If you do, pretty low quality. We didn't really know what I was doing. But thank you guys
for an hour and a half commute. So
thank you guys for having me on, though. I had a lot of fun.
Oh, it was a blast, man.
Awesome. We'll be back in 1 second to wrap up the show. All right, again, we want to thank Bryce for joining us. Again, you can follow him at MLB Hall of Good. All the great stuff they're posting on Instagram. Check it out. Denard Span, you got the exclusive content here. He will be up for vote, or is he officially in, Devin? I want to make sure I get it right.
Up for vote. So I believe their votes last for, I think it's 24 hours, if not 48. The last one that was up for vote was Darwin Barney, who only got 19% of the vote. I believe you need 65% of the vote. Before that, Scott Kazmir just barely got the 65% to get in there. So that's what you really need to get in. But it's at least 24 hours, and I believe it's definitely on the Instagram that you can vote on the player.
So we will be back later this week. As Devin mentioned in the intro, we have 2 guests this week. I'm not sure if you want to reveal the second guest, Devin, to hype it up, or would you want it to be a surprise?
I don't know. What do you think?
I think announce it because it makes people tune in on Friday morning, right?
Yeah, and I know typically Friday mornings, we always talk about this, like typically Friday mornings are not the most popular podcast day, and then you have the weekend behind it. But for this one, I feel like people need to tune in here. Jack McMullen, if you're not familiar, first of all, I think he's on the map from Just Baseball, one of the guys that kind of started that. And he is in his first year as the Marlins radio broadcaster. So super busy guy. The fact that he's going to give us some time. I think we will mostly talk Marlins because we've never done a Marlins centric episode. And we like to try to do as many of those as possible, individual teams. And I think we probably only have about 4 or 5 on the list that we've never done a team centric episode. So we'll talk a lot of Marlins, but being from Just Baseball, being a guy who covers the league for years, I'm sure we will squeeze in some other conversation about things that are going on around Major League Baseball.
So in the meantime, make sure you guys follow us on Instagram and on X at Table Setters Pod for all the content. Devin mentioned the reels before. Check it out. Posting some polls up, conversations. Devin mentioned most of our presence is on Twitter. So make sure you guys head over there and subscribe and join us each week for the episodes here. We appreciate all the support. As Devin mentioned, we're episode 87. We're approaching 100, which is a milestone. I mean, we got the love from Bryce over here talking about the consistency a podcast usually takes and the winding road sometimes. And sometimes you move in and out of the spotlight as far as your listeners go, but we are here every day, like the dog days of August, baseball every single day, watching it, loving it, breathing it. So, yeah, man, we appreciate all the support you guys can bring our way. And if you can, please leave a 5-star review. There was a couple of weeks in there we were getting a few a day. So if you guys can be out there, if you are enjoying the show somewhere out there and you enjoyed this interview that we had here, there's more coming your way. Just please leave a 5-star review. It lets us know that everybody's listening.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's some of our listeners that may have been introduced to the MLB Hall of Pretty Good tonight. And I'm sure there's probably even more people that maybe are tuning into this episode and tuning into Table Setters for the first time because they know Bryce and they know Bryce's work. I hope you guys liked what we did here. If you did come back for more, traditionally our regular episodes are just going around the league, the two of us having conversations about mostly Major League Baseball, but we squeeze some college baseball in as well. And then we mix in some guest episodes to talk about some different topics as well. So if you're new here, if it's your first listen, thank you for listening. And I hope you enjoyed the interview and I hope you come back.
So we'll be back on Friday morning with the interview with Jack McMullen and all the things about the Marlins and the exclusive content over there. And I'm sure baseball conversation throughout the week, but we will talk to you at that time after a while.
High fly ball into right field. She is gone. In a year that has been so improbable, the